Fantastic. Well, today we're going to be presenting on our new road rewilding project, also known as our road decommissioning project. As people are joining, go ahead and, like I said, type in the chat where you're coming from. My name is Sarah Truebe, and I'm a Habitat Conservation Manager with Sky Island Alliance. Today, as I said, I'm joining you from Tucson, Arizona, where the Sky Island Alliance office sits on the lands of the Tohono O'odham, Pasquayaqui, and other indigenous peoples. If you'd like to learn more about these lands, my colleague Rick will be pasting into the chat a link for you to learn more. I'd also like to introduce our co-host today for our talk, my colleague Bryon Lichtenhan. Take it away, Bryon.
Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween and welcome today. I'm really excited to be here and to be launching this project with so much support. Already, we've had a number of people going out and using our survey and surveying roads for us, and it's been a great success so far. And we're hoping that after today, even more of you will be feeling ready to go help us out. With that said, I did want to just mention some of those folks who have already been out helping us with this, kind of beta testing it to a degree as well. And I just want to mention Brad Clemens, Britt Rosso, Christine Shalomo, Eric Aldrich, Erica Freese, Julie Swarstead Johnson, Lauren LMG, who might be Lauren. Please let us know if you are Lauren or LMG. We want to keep track of your hours. Ted Morris, and then someone who did like all the roads in the Whetstones near Karchner Caverns. Your name isn't on the survey. We really do want to know who you are. So if that's you, please reach out and let us know.
It might be Eric Aldrich. Did a bunch of surveys in the Whetstones and lost connection at one point.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we will we'll follow up on that. But if you're Lauren, LMG, or you're not Eric, but you did those roads in the Whetstones, please let us know. Okay, yeah. Just a reminder to please stay muted throughout the talk. If questions come up, you can put those in the chat and we will definitely get to those at the end. And yeah, let's get started.
There you go, Bryon. That should be visible now.
Okay. All right, so our road rewilding project. And go next slide. So just wanting to give everyone a little background about the project. As I'm sure many of you know, Sky Island Alliance has been involved in our border wildlife study in this area for over 3 years now. We've been documenting wildlife activity in and around the borderlands, even crossing the border itself. And through that time, we've just been really documenting how important this area is as a wildlife corridor. Again, I'm sure many of you realize this, but this is really among just a handful of areas along the Arizona-Mexico border that has no pedestrian fence or no border wall, as we usually call it. And as I'm sure we know, that border wall really does block most wildlife movement. So the fact that this stretch is open just makes it that much more important for wildlife. Unfortunately, this stretch also has about like 700 miles of roads, kind of crisscrossing the Sierra Vista Ranger District of the Coronado National Forest, and that makes this one of the most road-dense districts in the forest system down here. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. I just wanted to share this video because I think it's a wonderful example of some of the creatures that are able to cross the border. This is the border right here, as this animal crosses that barbed wire fence, it's now in the US. So it's, a porcupine like this would have real trouble scaling the pedestrian fence, likely would not make it through. But because this stretch is just barbed wire and vehicle barrier, it can do that. And this is just a species that's really near and dear to my heart. I love them, and I think it's wonderful that we're seeing them in this area and seeing them move back and forth across the border. Next slide. Or, well, all right. So some more background on this project. Roads, as I'm sure we know, fragment habitat. They result in roadkill. They cause erosion. They help spread invasive species. They create problems with dust. They bring more light into the area from cars and from infrastructure and things like that. So that density of roads is a real problem for wildlife. The Coronado National Forest in this region, recognizing that there are just too many roads out here, has actually already administratively decommissioned over 160 miles of these roads in a process that began over 10 years ago. That process is done. These roads are legally closed, meaning they should not be driven on by the public now. But there's been no effort really until this year to start physically blocking any of these roads. And that's what Skyline Alliance has committed to helping with. So this is the beginning of a multi-year project. We're going to be assisting the district with physically closing as many of these roads as possible. And to do that, we are starting with this surveying project that we're hoping you will all be interested in joining us for. This project will help us determine which roads are priorities for closing. It will also help us determine which roads might have specific issues that need to be dealt with during the closing, such as erosion issues, such as perhaps invasive species, things like that. These are the learning these things will help us figure out how to close roads and which roads to focus on at the beginning, which roads might need more clearances, might need more work to eventually close. Next slide. And I'm going to turn this over to Sarah now for a bit.
Thanks, Bryon. All right, so as for the first steps for how to get involved with this project, hopefully by now you all have either been on our newsletter or been on our website and seen this particular page. Rick will also be pasting this into the chat right now, so you can go ahead and save it as a bookmark on your computer and learn more about the steps of the project there. On our website, we actually have step-by-step instructions. You can kind of open each of those sections where the yellow arrow is down here, and you can see those step-by-step instructions. So if at any point during this talk, either we miss a step or you miss a step, there's a chance to go back and check it on the website and make sure that each of those has been checked off. So the first thing we ask all of you to do each time you go out to before you go out to the field with us on our projects, is to sign a volunteer waiver. So this is also on our website, and Rick will paste that into the chat as well. We recently updated our waiver, so even if you've done one with us before, if you haven't filled it out in the last couple of months, please go ahead and do that. It has some information on there that you should read and then fill out. So that's our first step. Then after that, we get to the fun work of the project itself. On our website, you can also visit this map, and this map shows the Huachuca Mountains all the way over into the Patagonias here. So this is the Sierra Vista Ranger District, including the Whetstone Mountains up here. And on this map, we've kind of created these lettered zones, these boxes, just to kind of help navigate on the map. The letters aren't really specific. There's no real specific reason behind them other than just to help you find out where you are on the map. So if you say you want to go to the Patagonias, you would pick one of these letters and then would use that to figure out the road segments. So once you've kind of decided an area that you want to go to, then you figure out what box that's in. So for instance, I do, before we go to the next step of this project, I do want to kind of actually orient you all a little bit more to this map, because there's a lot on here that actually is helpful also for the work itself. So the red roads on this map are the roads for restoration. So those are the ones that the Forest Service has said are administratively decommissioned that we are hoping to physically decommission in the near future. These locator boxes are what I was just talking about. So that's just to help figure out where on the map you are. Any blue dot is somewhere that someone has already been out and has identified an issue, either invasive species, erosion, like what Bryon said, some of the issues that are concerns on these roads that we're going to want to address when we do the physical decommissioning. And then also on this map are a bunch of legal Forest Service roads in these other colors, this green and orange, and some of these others as well. And I put these on this map just so that those are the legal roads, also known as the motor vehicle use map. So if you are looking online for a map of those roads, look for the words motor vehicle use map, and that'll help you find more information about those legal roads. Okay, so once you've looked at the map, you've kind of taken a gander on how you're going to get out there, and you've picked an area to work in, you use these lettered boxes to sign up for some road segments. And this is mostly just so we don't have a whole bunch of people going out and surveying the same segments at the same time. We really want people to survey all the segments before we start doing any kind of resurvey, which is not really a part of this project. So once you've picked an area to work in, you can zoom in and you can actually see the specific names. They're also called route numbers for the segments that are going to be decommissioned. And some of these, there's some kind of internal Forest Service code for this, and some of the names are kind of long, and Bryon will talk about that in a bit, how to make it a little bit easier when you're out there in the field. But for now, you can say, all right, I've found box D, and I want to do this 48 spur road because I'm going to go camping at Parker Canyon Lake this weekend. So then you take that information and you go to our Google sign up sheet. You scroll down to zone D and you find that road segment. And then you put your name in, your email address, and your approximate planned visit date. And this just helps us keep track of which segments are signed up for. And then you can see if someone else has also signed up for the same road segment, maybe pick the one next to it or pick a different one for your target date out in the field. We also have a section on this map where on this spreadsheet where you can sign up if you are looking for a buddy to go out with. So you can put your name and your email address here, and then feel free to contact the folks over in this corner. So if you are looking for a buddy to go out with, you can send them a message and see if they're available on the same dates that you are. Great. So then after you've done all that and you've picked a segment, it's time to actually do the next steps of the project. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Bryon, to walk us through how to do the field maps part of this project.
All right, thank you, Sarah. So just moving forward, a bit of a disclaimer, all these images are going to be as if you were looking at it on an iPhone. Things might look slightly different if you are looking at it with an Android phone, but the app still works the same, still has all the same structure to it, and hopefully should translate well from these images. But if you ever have problems, of course, feel free to reach out to myself, to Sarah. We can help guide folks through this stuff. But all right, so as Sarah said, once you have kind of figured out where you're going and you have a plan for the field, you need to download the app. And the app we're using is the RIS Field Maps app, and it's available in the Apple App Store. It's available in the Google Play Store. So, and it looks like this, that blue insignia is the one you're looking for. Go ahead, next slide. All right, so once you've downloaded it and you open the app, you're going to see this sign-in page, and you're going to want to go ahead and sign in with ArcGIS Online, that white button there. And it's going to then prompt you to fill in a username and password. These passwords and usernames are on the website, on the project page that we've linked to already. I'm including them here as well. Basically, pick one of these usernames. The password is the same for all of them, road decom 3 exclamation point. And go ahead and fill that information in and sign in. If for some reason when you do that, it doesn't allow you to sign in, that means that we already have too many users signed in using that login. And so you can just go down the list, pick the next login, and try that one. Each of these logins allow 3 or 4, and yeah, 3 people to be using the login at once. So hopefully that won't become an issue of there not being enough room on any one login. But alrighty, go ahead, next slide. So once you have logged in, you're going to see this first page on the left, and that road decom map there is the one that we're using. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So the downside to this is that it is an online map, and most of the places we're working are going to be outside of cell service. So if you click on that map, click there, you will open this project area, and you'll see a few map areas listed below. Those are pre-built offline maps. So if you download those, say you wanted to go to box D or box C, if you download those, you can then use that map to do the survey work offline. Similarly, if you want to go to an area that we don't have a pre-built map for already, you can click the 3 buttons next to the top road decom. Sarah's pointing to that with her cursor now. And it drops down this little menu, and you'll see add offline area in the middle there. So that's how you can create your own offline area. If you want to go wherever it is within this map, you can download your own map. And I encourage you to do that and to try it out and make your own maps, because you can really make it as big or as small as you want, get as much information. You can include areas nearby where you're going so that you can see which roads you want to use getting to where you're going, stuff like that. But we'll go ahead and I'm going to walk you through this whole process of creating that offline area. So say you want to create your own offline area, you're going to click add offline area. And when that opens up, you're going to start off with this screen to the left, and there's a tiny little box in the middle next to that V map area. That is the map area that you're creating, which starts off at this level of detail down below. You'll see level of detail in blue, it says room. And that is a very small map area that you're creating. So you're going to want to click that blue room, and that's going to open up this middle screen here. And you can choose what level of detail you want. And I think small building is generally a good one, but you can play around and decide what you want. Building tends to be a lot bigger. I think small building is a good spot to try out. So in this next picture, that's what I've done, chosen small building. And then you can zoom in and scroll around on the map to determine what areas you want to be within that map area you're creating. So in this case, we've zoomed in on that map area I and the edges of some other maps. And when you have that map area, including the areas you want to go, you click the blue button, download area. And we can go to the next slide. So once you've done that, you'll see this, again, the left-hand screen. Area 8 is that area that I just built, and it's ready to go. You can see it's on the device, and you can now use that map to go out into the field. If you need any additional areas, this is your chance to do that again. Go up to Road Decom, hit the 3 blue buttons again, and you can make as many of these offline areas as you need. One thing, oh, and yeah, this next slide is just an example. I decided, oh, I wanted the box C map as well. Clicked that, click the download, and you can see it's downloading. Once it downloads, it will join the Area 8 in on the device. So one thing to say though about this, so a number of you may have already been out in the field, have already downloaded offline areas, have already been doing this work. One thing that's kind of interesting about this program is once you have downloaded a map onto your phone, it brought with it whatever survey form was current when you downloaded your map. And we have had to make changes here and there to the survey form as we figure out things that are broken, or as Esri, the company that does the app, they've made some changes on their end that have rendered some of our maps and some of our past questionnaires obsolete. So what I recommend you do, anytime you're going out in the field, I'd actually recommend you delete any maps that you had previously uploaded and re-upload new maps to your phone. That will make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date survey on your phone attached to that map. And again, if you ever have questions about this or things come up, you know, reach out to Sarah and I. There have been some issues with this app kind of breaking here and there on us. It's kind of a new product and it's new to us. We think for now it's all good, but whenever they make changes to the app, it may render either maps you've made or questionnaires we've made inoperable. So hopefully that won't be too much of an issue, but if it ever is, reach out to us. And we can go to the next slide. Okay, so taking points in the field. I'm going to get into what kinds of points you make really quick here in the future, but just kind of the basics of it. Whenever you come across a point, you are going to zoom in on the map. And unfortunately, I was making this map not in the field. So when you are on the map, you will be a little blue dot that shows up wherever you are on the map. And when you want to make a point, when you're standing at a point of interest, whether it's some erosion or it's the road entrance or whatever it is, you can hit the little blue plus button in the bottom corner of your screen, and that will start a survey point and this questionnaire that we're going to do. And if you zoom in, you'll see the road segment name is there, and you will want that because on the questionnaire, the first things you have to put in are the road segment ID and your name. Unfortunately, these are going to be required on every single one. So what I recommend you do is type in that road segment ID. You can be looking up at it and type it out so that you know you're getting it right, because it will show on the map at the same time as the beginning of this questionnaire. But once you've typed that out, I would copy and paste it into your phone notes somewhere so that you don't have to retype out that number, because sometimes they're kind of convoluted, as you can see in this example. They like dashes and periods and letters and so on. So I recommend doing that. Type it in the first time, copy and paste it, and you can do the same with your name. We do want your full name. It is hard for us to track down people based on just a first name or initials or things like that. So go ahead and copy and paste your name into your notes too, and then you can speed up that process. And on your phone, you might even be able to do some predictive text settings or things like that that would help you with that. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so once you have put in the segment ID and your name, there's a box for the date and time. And you can just click within that box where it says no value. Sarah, maybe you can put your cursor there. If you just click on that box, the box autofills with the current date and time. And then you can just click again on the date and time, and it will save that. You can also, if for some reason the date and time wasn't working or something, I mean, you could change that date and time if you need to for some reason, but probably you won't need to. So just click in the box, click it again, and it will save the current date. Go ahead, next slide. All right, and now we're to the meat of the survey. So there are a bunch of different sections on the survey. None of them are required because we really just want you to use this wherever you find a point of interest. You're going to open up the survey, and you're going to scroll down through this kind of table of contents, I guess, and decide whether your point is one of these sections. Is it a road entrance detail? Is it a closure location? Are there campsites, drainages, erosion, stuff like that? And depending on once you open up each of these, depending on your answers, you'll be prompted with additional questions potentially. And just as a general rule, there are a lot of these where it's going to ask you to take a picture. Just the way this app is built, it looks like it is like a text box where you could type things. You don't have to type anything there at all. If you want to, you can type done or yes or whatever, but you really don't need to type anything. That's just a prompt for you to go take the picture of whatever this point of interest is. All right, next slide. So we're going to go through each of these sections and just talk a little bit about what we're looking at, what we're looking for. So starting with the road entrance details, and you can see that it'll ask you if this is the road entrance. You just click yes, and then you will see all these other questions show up. So the first one asking you to take an entrance photo. So we just want you to take a step back, maybe from across the main road you're on, or from wherever gives you the best view of what the road entrance looks like. Take that picture. Ideally, we want the whole road, that whole road entrance in the picture, and ideally too, some sense of the surrounding vegetation. The next question is one about the road width. And we're talking like, is this a single lane wide road? Like, would only one car be able to drive down this in either direction at a time? Or is it 2 lanes wide? Could 2 cars easily pass each other on this road? Or is it even 3 or more lanes? Just giving us a general sense of how big this is. The next question is the width in steps. So that'll help us narrow it down a little more. And we're just asking you to literally walk across the width of the road, count your steps, and put it in there telling us how wide it is. Obviously, there's some play there from one person to the next, but we can kind of get an average sense of how wide that road is. And then we're asking about roadbed visibility. What we mean there is if you're at the entrance of the road, how far can you see down that road before it maybe veers out of sight? Maybe it turns and disappears into vegetation. Maybe it drops down a hill, things like that. So that helps us understand how much work it's going to take to hide that road from the public. We're going to have to plant a bunch of plants in the roadbed, or does it immediately like turn into some woods and disappear? And if we just block that entrance, we won't have to worry about people seeing a big road there that maybe they want to go explore. Another question is about roadbed vegetation. A lot of these roads might have plants grow in the roadbed still. So you'll see there's various things to choose from. Maybe there's no vegetation in the road. Maybe there's plants growing just between the tire ruts. Maybe there's plants growing across the entire roadbed. And you'll see there we've also asked if it's dense vegetation between the tire ruts or dense vegetation across the entire roadbed. And what we mean there for me, I think some plants just means there's a few plants growing there. Dense vegetation means like that vegetation is actually like overlapping with each other to a large degree. And then there's a section to add notes, and that's true of all of these sections. If you see something that seems remarkable, just add it in the notes. Next slide. All right, so here are some pictures of some roads, and just wanted to talk about like being able to point out to these things, kind of some of the stuff we're talking about. So this top left picture with our truck Zorita parked at the road entrance, we're just talking about kind of where this road swings out and joins the main road. You can just walk across, kind of go to where the vegetation starts, where kind of that edge of the road is. Sometimes that's not totally obvious, but do your best in the field, and you're just going to walk across that with kind of paralleling the main road to determine how wide that is. These pictures all also kind of give you a sense of the vegetation surrounding the road. That's another question that we are asking here. And I think we've got grassland, woodland, forest, desert scrub, and we're not asking you to be like super detailed. Obviously, there's a lot of different vegetation types. We don't need you to be geeking out on exactly what kind it is, but really it's about what are the main what's the main thing around the road bed itself. So, for instance, in this top right picture, you can see, yeah, there are scattered trees here and there, but primarily it's grassland. And the reason that's important to us is because if we just put like a barrier across the road itself, people are just going to drive around in the grass and go down the road, no problem. So you would say grassland if there's enough grassland around there that they could easily just drive through the grassland and get back on the road. Alternatively, down that bottom right-hand corner, that's more forest or woodland. It'd be hard to just drive around through all those trees to get on the road if we block the road itself. And then these are also some examples of like vegetation. That top right picture, you can see there's grasses growing all through that roadbed. That's what I would call dense vegetation in the roadbed. Between the tire ruts, it's taller, but even within the tire ruts, you actually have grasses that are there. They've just been kind of knocked down by the tires. So alternately, if you look down in that bottom left corner, that road has no vegetation in it at all. And these are all good examples, I'd say, of single lane roads as well. So just giving you a sense of those things. And I guess we'll go to the next slide. All right, so the next question or section is about the closure location. We're asking you, when you are in the field, to give us a sense of where you think the best spot to close this road is. The reason we're asking that is that some of these might be hard to close. A lot of them are going to be out in grassland, and in that case, you can just mark the beginning of the road, or if for some reason the road is like at the road entrance, maybe there's a campground or a big pullout and it's really wide, then maybe we just want to close it right where it narrows down. And that top right-hand picture is a good example of that. There's a lot of kind of disturbed area, but then it narrows down to become the road. So maybe we would just close it there at that narrow spot. But perhaps you will find that just 20 yards down the road, you actually get into some trees, and now that might make more sense as a spot to close the road. If we put a gate or something across the road here, or bollards across the road here, people aren't going to be able to drive around through those trees and get on the road, and so that would be an easy place to close it. We know that this is a bit subjective, and we're just asking you to do your best. When you're in the field, you've got more information than anyone else does as far as what the surroundings look like, and that's gonna help us immensely to get a sense of whether yeah, whether there's an obvious good closure location or not. And so there's one of these questions here is closure feasibility. So maybe it's just out in the grassland. You just use the closure location right at the beginning of the road because that's really the most obvious spot. But you can answer in that closure feasibility whether it's going to be easy for people to just drive around the barrier or not. So that'll help us again in our planning. And again, we're asking you to take a picture of your recommended closure point as well. All righty, next slide. All right, if you come across campsites anywhere along the road, we're asking you to document those too. That helps us understand, how much the public is likely to want to use this road in the future. And maybe if there's campsites right at the entrance, maybe it makes sense for us to close the road a little further down the road so that those campsites are still usable and we're not pushing people to camp in new areas or create new campsites. So anytime you find a campsite, there's a question about just the location, whether it's at the beginning of the road, at the end of the road, along the road. And we're asking again for kind of a general understanding of the campsite size. So is this a spot that like one car could pull off the road and set up a tent? Or could 2 cars or more? Maybe it's like a big turnaround campsite where you could pull RVs in there and stuff. Just asking you to let us know about that. Next section. All right, then there's a section about the road end or exit. So by road exit, we just mean that maybe that road connects 2 roads together. So you started it by getting onto this closed road off of a main road, and it ends by hopping onto another one of these main legal roads. So if it's a road exit, you treat it just like the road entrance. It's going to have all the same questions as the road entrance questions. And we're going to ask that you look for another closure location there and make another closure point at that road exit as well. However, if the road dead ends, we want you to take a point at that dead end location. And you can see on this picture over to the side that those blue dots at the end of some of these spur roads where they dead ended. But you will also see on that spur 2, 4726 spur 2 road that we've got dots continuing off into the wild. And that's because the road didn't end where the map said it would. So if you come across that in the field, we definitely want you to keep going and documenting that road. So treat it like you would the normal road. If you come across erosion or other issues, campsites, things like that, if you come across those, keep documenting them until you reach the actual end of the road, wherever that is. And once you read that, you reach the actual end, make that end point on the map. All right, next slide. Okay, drainage interactions. So a lot of these roads wander all over the place, and they may end up crossing drainages or entering drainages and actually using the drainage as the road bed. And we want to know about that too, because that could be sites where we've got more erosion issues or where we're causing harm to those like riparian areas, things like that. So if you come across that, we want you to document it. And you'll see we have questions about whether this is a crossing of the drainage or whether it's entering the drainage. We're asking if there's erosion around this point, and if there is, say yes here, but then once you're done filling this out, also make an erosion point for that. And then we're asking if it's a spot where the road entered into the drainage, we want to know how far the road is traveling along the drainage. So, and because you're going to be making that point from where you're standing, you may not be able to see how far it goes. And if it's going out of sight, that's fine. You can just say out of sight. But if you can see how far it goes generally, then you can answer that question there too. All righty, next. And erosion. We've talked a fair amount about erosion because these roads are definitely going to be, well, a lot of them have real erosion problems, and all of them are sources of soil that help block up drainages downstream and things like that. So if you do come across erosion, we want you to make a point. And we're looking for, yeah, there will be questions about, is there active erosion here? And if you're not too familiar with what makes it active or not, we're talking about like, is there soil slumping or sloughing along the edges of this erosion? Are there exposed roots? Is there pedestaling, which means like plants that are like posted up on little turrets of soil, and the soil all around has been washed away? Are there head cuts? Head cuts like in this picture top right. The head cuts are the areas where that erosion is actively moving uphill. It's where the surrounding grade initially drops down into this channel that's forming. That would be your head cut. And is there channelization, like on this left-hand picture here, where you've got like an obvious channel following along this old road, bed? So there are questions about all that. You know, questions about how deep the head cuts are, how deep the channels are, how many head cuts there are in the area, things like that. So that's all found in that erosion section of the questionnaire. Next slide. And then finally, there is a section for other restoration concerns. This is really just a spot for you to type in something else that you come across that wasn't already on the questionnaire. So are you finding a spot maybe with a bunch of trash? Are you finding invasive species? And we don't expect everyone to know what all the invasive species are. But if you are somebody who knows that like, oh, these tumbleweeds don't belong here, or you know, maybe you come across a certain grass or things that you know are a problem, then please, you know, go ahead and type in there. And we're also looking for things like archaeological sites. If you happen to come across something like that, we need to know about it for sure. If you come across ranching or other infrastructure, maybe you go back on this road that's supposed to be closed and there's like a brand new cattle tank back there full of water, or even an old one full of water. Stuff like that, we want to know about it. And then if you come across old or damaged fencing, we want to know about that too. Now, this picture didn't come through very clear, but right next to that T-post, there's actually some old, twisted, broken barbed wire there, right next to this road entrance. And this is one of those roads that's scheduled to be closed. So if there's stuff like that around there, we want to know that too, because when we're out, we can be pulling some of that old fencing. We've been talking to the forest, and they'd love our help getting rid of old fences. And we might in the future even be retrofitting some of the good fence with wildlife friendly fencing. So, but if you see that out and around these roads, feel free to mention that as well, please. And whatever else you come across, we don't know what you might come across. So if you're out there and there's something that seems to be worth noting, then use this section to do that. And it's just a text field, so just write in whatever you think is important for us to know. All righty. I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah now.
Awesome. Thanks, Bryon. So when you're headed out to the field, there's a couple of other things we want to make sure that you also are thinking about. Of course, we're interested in the data and how to close these roads, but we're fundamentally most interested in your safety out there. So driving is probably the most dangerous thing that any of us can be doing. So please be cautious when you're driving, when you're getting out to the sites. And then if you find a road and you're surveying a road and it becomes too rough for your vehicle or your comfort level, by all means, like, please stop there. You can always indicate in the survey that you had to stop surveying at that point, or you can walk the end of the road. We also have a couple folks who are interested in mountain biking the road segments. So same deal there, just make sure that your car or bike or whatever vehicle you are using, including your feet, and your tires are in good shape. You can always travel with a buddy. That's really helpful as well. If the Border Patrol stop you, just be polite, explain you're doing a conservation project. And then always keep in mind that even if you're mostly going to be near or around a vehicle, it still can be very hot out there, or it can be very cold. Keep warm layers with you, keep water and snacks and everything else that you would when you're out there in the field. We've also had a couple of questions that have come up already that we just wanted to address specifically. So the first one is, what do I do if I find a new road that's not on the map at all? This is very similar to continuing a road that you didn't expect. So for instance, you can see this stretch of road right here. This is a road that someone encountered along the border here and then followed up. And as you can see, it's not on the Forest Service maps. It was, however, on the Gaia base map. Gaia is a navigation tool if you use it. We're actually trying to work with Gaia to get that layer of roads because somehow they knew that road was there. And we'd like to know about those as well so we can work with the Forest Service to make sure that we're also closing any roads that shouldn't be there at all. So if you happen to do it for the road segment name, because it's not a named segment, just go ahead and put in new road or road not on map, just something very clear that lets us know that this is not a known segment that we're surveying. These are very important to document as a part of this project. Another question that came up is, what do you do if you come across a private property or a no trespassing sign on a legal road? And this is an example of that. This is a spot on the map on the right, where if you're turning from the orange road onto the green road, there's a no trespassing sign. But if you're coming from the other direction, there's no signs that indicate that you're at any point on private land, and it is still a legal road in both sides here. Basically, regardless of what you see on the legal road map, if you see a no trespassing sign, do not go past it. Document the road to that point, take a picture so we know how far you got, but definitely do not go past any private property or no trespassing signs as a part of this project. And then there are two more steps you have to do once you are back in cell phone service. So the majority of this project is going to take place when you are out in the wild outside of cell phone service. When you come back, the first step, this should happen automatically, but we're not super confident in whether Esri might change how this product works. So we're asking that everybody just visit whatever section of offline map you were working on, open the app when you get back into cell phone service, click on these three dots over here, and then hit this sync right here. And that will mean that any points that you added to the map will get sent up into the cloud, and then we can see them. And so that's an important step to do, just to make sure it's kind of like a check to make sure that those points actually get sent to us. And then the final thing that you're going to want to do, like Bryon talked about, we have these 4 login names that each have 3 people active on them. We're going to ask you to log out as the very last thing that you do once you're back in cell phone service. And to do that, you go up to this little person image in the upper left of your app, scroll down to the bottom, and then hit sign out. And that's it. And then once you've signed out and you're back from the field, then that login is available for somebody else to use then when they're heading out to the field.
Sarah,
and then once,
before
yeah,
you go on, I just wanted to mention, I don't think I made clear at the beginning, when you've made your maps, when you're ready to go out in the field, that you want to leave your app open as you travel out into the field. If you close it and then try and open it again out in the field outside of cell service, you may not have access to everything that you wanted access to. So yeah, once you've done those early steps of creating your map, opening it up, you've got the map of the place you want to go, just leave the app open on your phone as you travel out to the field.
And just to clarify, you don't have to like leave it active on your phone. Like you don't have to leave it open and keep waking your phone up to keep it. You just don't have to actively quit it. Like just leave it running in the background, and you can navigate, you can do whatever else you normally do. But yeah, that's a great clarification. Thank you, Bryon.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so once you've logged out though, there's still one more thing we're going to ask you to do. And that is report on your miles and your hours. And we really, really want to accurately reflect your efforts on this project. So we have a portal on our website please bookmark this link as well. And Rick will also paste this one into the chat. We want you to put in the dates that you were out there, how long it took you, and how much you drove. And these together are valued for us for grants. Every hour of your time is valued at more than $30. So that's a lot of value from this project. And so we really, really want to accurately reflect that for both crediting you for your awesome work, but then also for our grant reporting things. So enter your volunteer time on our website, and you'll be able to do that each time you come back from the field. And I want to give a big shout out already, because we have already, in the past month that this project has been live, we've surveyed 295 points. That's both a good and a bad thing, because that means there's 295 potential problems that we have to address, but it's really good to know about those. So I just want to give another big virtual round of applause to all the folks who have helped us. That is a huge, huge number of points that have already been out there and already documented. And that gives us a great place to start planning the physical decommissioning work of these roads. And then I want to make one more point before we go into questions. And that is, we're not the only folks who are interested in potential problems out in the wild. Tucson Audubon Society is also doing a project on these open topped pipes that can actually lead to animals dying out there. If you're interested in this project, please go ahead and Google it or contact one of us, and we'll put you in touch with the project itself, because it's important work that they're also doing in the same region. So with that, I would like to open it up to questions. I can't see the chat right now, but maybe Bryon, if there's any questions in there, we can start there, or as folks begin to type questions, we can go ahead and open that up.
And I don't know if Rick has, I'm opening that now and looking for questions, but if any have come through on Facebook or anything like that, maybe Rick, you could let us know as well.
I do see one on the chat about the area failing, downloading an offline area failing, and then retrying it and it works. And that is very common. Something sometimes glitches. And so this is a project where it's a good idea to start when you're comfortable in your living room or your office or wherever, open the app and make sure those areas are fully downloaded. So yeah, for sure.
We also have a comment from Olya Weekly. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but Olya is who you can reach out to if you have questions about that Open Pipes project. And their email address is oweekley, OWEEKLEY, at TucsonAudubon.org.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, I see another question here on, are the downloaded offline areas associated with the username? I don't actually know the answer to that. And that is an excellent question that I'll do some more research on. Bryon, do you happen to know the answer to that?
I don't know if the downloaded area is associated with your username. I know it is associated just with your phone, and like you, as you create them, you get another number associated with it. But yeah, I don't know if they're associated with the username.
I
think they're just on your phone.
Yeah, I'll try right now though. And I'll log in with a different one and see if I can figure that out.
There's a question from Joe Cicero wondering if I'm going trick-or-treating tonight. I will not be going trick-or-treating tonight, unfortunately.
Bryon just wears costumes all the time.
These are I grew these for Halloween. They're real, not a costume. No. Okay, and then there's a question, can you post the URL for this presentation? After this webinar wraps up, we will be sending a link to the recording to everyone who signed up for this webinar. And also, that link will be posted on our website, usually within a day or so, sometimes pretty quick. But within a day or so, you should be getting a link to this if you signed up, and it will be on our website if you didn't sign up, or if you did.
And Bryon, I can follow up that the offline areas are associated with a particular username, because I just logged in under a different one and my offline areas did not save. So that's a very, very important piece. And we'll make sure to update that on the website, that whatever you log in and download your offline areas, if you're going to go back to the same area more than once, We do ask that you re-download the offline area anyway, in case there's been an update on either our end or Esri's end. But it is associated with the username. So thank you for that excellent question, Sarah.
There's a question, when do you expect to begin the physical restoration work? So there will be some work happening before May of next year. One of our grants is for work that has to be finished by May of next year. So a few of these roads in that block B area on the map will be closed, like in the spring or very early summer, depending on how you want to look at those in this area. But the rest of it will probably be happening starting later next year and in subsequent years.
Awesome. Okay, we have a couple more questions about usernames and logins. Will you be adding more usernames or passwords now that the project is live? Not at this time, but we do want to hear from you. If you are trying to head out, just like the following question from Pat, if all the logins are in use when you are setting up your offline maps and you're heading out, please let us know, because if we have 12 people active surveying in the field at the same time, we want to know that, and we will add logins if that's the case. Thus far, it hasn't been an issue. We've had enough with the 4 logins that we have, and that gives us 12 potential people using the app at the same time. But yeah, we definitely want to know. So give us that feedback if you have an issue. We do have other projects like Spring Seeker if you decide to go out and you can't log into road decommissioning, but we hope that you can help with this project without an issue with the logins. So yeah, just let us know if you run into that and we'll add more.
And I would just reiterate that if that's a problem, it's very likely because folks have not logged out after they came back from the field. So definitely, and please do log out once you're done with your field work. If you don't do that, we could very easily run into a situation where we're running out of space for folks to log in. So just remember how important that last piece is. Right,
yeah.
and then
go ahead.
Okay, question about the mileage. And yes, this would be your mileage from when you left your house to when you got back to your house, if you go out on one of these road surveying trips. So yeah, all your mileage counts. And also, Olya has attached a link in the chat for folks who are interested in that Open Pipes project. So please follow that link and bookmark that page and learn more about that project too, if that's something you would like to help out with.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so we have a couple of kind of questions about the schedule, both when we're going to organize group events to do surveys, and then also what is our timeline for completing the survey overall. In terms of group events, probably in the spring is when we were looking at that. So stay tuned. If you're not on our email newsletter yet, you can sign up for that on our website, or follow us on any of the social media channels, and we'll definitely be publicizing any of those events there. And then as far as the overall timeline, this is really just the first step. There's hundreds of miles of roads to survey. And so I don't know if maybe Bryon has more details from the Forest Service side on what their timeline is to quote unquote finish decommissioning all the roads. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, this is going to be definitely years and years of work. This first round of work, we've got funding for like 3 years, but I would be surprised if we don't go beyond that in this project. We're looking at a lot of work ahead of us.
Awesome. Yeah. And then we have a great question about a ranking system to determine which roads are most hazardous for wildlife migration. That will happen on the back end with the data that we receive, creating kind of a priority matrix of which roads need to be closed first and last. And of course, that matrix will also depend on what the Forest Service is asking in terms of which areas they want to work in first, that kind of thing. So yes, that is a piece that is coming to the project. I'm not sure I see any other questions. But if you do have follow-up questions, by all means, please reach out to us. Bryon, me, anyone on the team can get you to the right person. So we would be absolutely excited to hear your questions because it gives us what we need to make sure that the project is going to be successful rolling forward. So if you have questions after this, by all means, please reach out to us. And Bryon, I don't know if there's anything last minute that you want to say before we wish everyone a good day.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. So appreciate you all very much for coming and showing your support. All those of you who have already been out there helping us out. I know some of the early users of this really helped us figure out some of the changes that needed to be made to how this was done. And thank you all. We hope we'll be seeing your efforts from the field showing up on that map soon. And have fun out there.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.